Hi, my name is David Warner Matheson, and I'm in a park. I'm in a public space, and I'm talking about freedom of speech using the public commons. The park that I'm in is a public space. I would argue that the electromagnetic spectrum that we use for the internet is also a public space. It belongs to the entire public, not to a private or a restricted portion of the public, but it's public space. So I'm here in this public space and talking about freedom of speech. And I want to read an article that came out today, that was published today, September 12th, 2019. So one day after we've just finished observing another anniversary of the horrible events of September 11th, 2001, 18 years later. Here's an article that was published today in journalism.co.uk entitled, "Just How Effective is the New YouTube's Fact-Checking Feature?" Subtitle, "Piloted in India, the news verification function alerts users when their search topic is a hoax. But measuring its success can be tricky." Posted 12 September 2019 by Daniel Green in journalism.co.uk. Here's the article, quote, "YouTube has been working to combat the spread of misinformation on its platform by trialing a fact-checking feature in India. Users who are part of the pilot see information panels appear in search results when they are looking up topics, typically subject to misinformation. Publishers, including the Times of India, AFP, and India Today, have helped contribute to the system by providing content to debunk misleading claims." So the major media outlets, the mainstream media in India, is helping this effort to debunk misleading claims. The feature first launched in the country in March 2019. With YouTube intending to extend it to other countries throughout the rest of the year. Continuing, "The need for a feature like this has been clear for some time, with a majority of results for terms such as geoengineering and chemtrails spreading conspiracy theories and views, opposing the scientific consensus, according to a study published in Frontiers in Communication." Back to the article. "Labels debunking misinformation also do not appear on videos themselves, leaving open the prospect of users stumbling across videos in their recommendations in their feed. However, YouTube has worked to tackle this by altering its algorithm in certain markets to reduce the presence of conspiracy theories. Since changes to the recommendation system came into effect in the United States in January, views of so-called borderline content, videos that misinform but do not violate the website's guidelines, have dropped by more than 50%. Quote, "Are you talking about conspiracy, outright lies, misleading content, or outright false content?" Rather than having tech giants developing their own approach to tackling the spread of misinformation, Wardle would like to see a centralized solution. So most people seem to like it, she said. "We just haven't figured out how effective it really is." But we can't have all these different people deciding what content you can and can't see. We need a centralized solution. So the example that was given of content that's going to flag you when you search for it is geoengineering or chemtrails. If you search for that, you're going to get on your search results a big box that says, "Caution, you're now researching something that is ripe for misinformation, including conspiracy theories. This is spreading something that is contrary to what we want you to think about." Well, we can't write about chemtrails. What about GMOs? Can you write about those, or is that ripe for conspiracy theory? Genetically modified foods, that's ripe for misinformation. I've written about those. Well, since this was, they started talking about how this is being rolled out in India, they said, look, the recommendation system, since changes to the recommendation system came into effect in the United States In January, presumably January 2019, views of so-called borderline content, videos that misinform, but they don't violate the website's guidelines, they just misinform, have dropped by more than 50%. I wonder if I'm on that list. Well, we'll take a look at my search results in a minute here. But I've written about GMOs in ways that are contrary, might be considered misinformation, I guess. Or I've written about Building 7, free fall speed. The New York Times and the Washington Post have been covering up the facts about September 11, 2001 for 18 years now. And so if you're searching for content that actually expresses opinions that might be contrary to what is allowed to be put out, we're going to suppress your ability to find that. We're going to make sure that your ability to find that drops. It's like if we have a public space where someone's trying to talk about some content that you don't like, we get, the leaf blowers are going to come around and make so much noise that over 50% of the people can't hear what you're saying. So that's a serious, serious threat to free speech. It's actually a threat to freedom of the press. During the Revolution of the United States in 1776, the Declaration of Independence, and then later in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, they enshrined freedom of the press as the first amendment to the Constitution, the first item in the Bill of Rights, because the printing press had to be free. If you could somehow suppress, what Benjamin Franklin or Thomas Paine were writing on the printing press, if they were writing things that you didn't like, they were spreading misinformation, something that you didn't want out, that would be a very powerful tool, and that's exactly what this is talking about. So the views of so-called borderline content have now been suppressed by over 50% in the United States since whatever guidelines have been rolled out in the United States by YouTube. I'm not just singling out YouTube. This can be rolled out very effectively to lower. What if we had instead of calling it conspiracy theory, what if we called it heresy? What if we had a church body, a centralized church body that said, well, any heresy, anything that goes against our doctrine, we have to reduce, we have to put a caution label, and we have to actually put algorithms into effect that make it harder for you to find that. Would you say that you're living in a democracy anymore if you had a centralized body that they say, hey, you can still post stuff on YouTube, but if the centralized body determines that it's heresy, we have ways of suppressing that content to where nobody or virtually nobody can find it. If it goes against church doctrine, you wouldn't have a democracy in that case. You would have a theocracy. And I think it's pretty clear. You can just substitute the word misinformation, conspiracy theory for heresy. That's a modern term for heresy. Whatever they don't want, they call it a conspiracy theory, and will suppress your ability to see it. And you don't live in a democracy, you live in a theocracy now. So if I'm writing content that says all the world's myths are based on the stars, and by the way, that includes the Bible, and someone says, wait a minute, that's misinformation, or that's conspiracy, or that's heresy, and we suppress that, then you've got a serious problem. That's the opposite of the Bill of Rights. That's the opposite of the First Amendment. So let's take a look at my search results. I've been writing about this subject for 10 years. Sometimes I write about other subjects such as Building 7 coming down at free fall speed. So maybe that puts me in the category of borderline content and gets me suppressed. So I've got about 1,300 subscribers on YouTube. That's not that many. But let's see how long it takes. If we just search for my last name, Matheson, which is the title of my YouTube channel, Matheson Corollary, the title of my blog, which has over 1,100 posts and lots of views. Let's see how that comes up in a search result. Let's see how far you have to go to find that result on this YouTube search engine that uses what I would argue is the commons, the electromagnetic spectrum that is given out to usage. People might say, oh, YouTube's a private company, they can do what they want. Okay. They're using the electromagnetic spectrum. That is a public space. It's just like this park that I'm sitting in. It's a public space. And they're suppressing whatever's official heresy. We can suppress it. We need a centralized body to determine heresy and make sure you don't find it. So let's let's see how easy it is to find my content that I've been putting out for years on what I would consider to be a very important subject. Okay, so let's put in my last name, which is also the first part of my YouTube channel, and see how long does it take for YouTube to serve up my YouTube channel or even my first video. So here we go, we're counting. Now some of these are famous Norwegian singers. You know, my last name, Matheson or Mathisen, in Norway is a very common name. But some of these videos have very low view counts, much lower than, I have videos that have 5,000 and 6,000 views. It's not that many, but let's see how long it'll take before they finally serve up. Oh, here we have a YouTube channel, 69 subscribers. Nothing against that YouTube channel. I think that's great. But I wonder when we're going to get to my YouTube channel, which has, over 1,000 subscribers. But maybe I just have to be patient here. I wouldn't really think too much of this if, oh, here we have 315 subscribers, another channel that was. But now we're down in the 70s here. Oh, 6 videos. We're in the 80s. We still haven't gotten anywhere close. 7 subscribers. Like I said, nothing against those YouTube videos. I think it's great that people are putting out content, but it just makes me wonder, where's my first video going to finally show up here? Or let alone my YouTube channel that I work hard on. Like I said, I wouldn't think too much of this if I hadn't just read an article that talks about suppressing with algorithms content that is misinformation. I wonder if I must be considered misinformation, because now we're in the hundreds now, still no sign of my first video or even my YouTube channel. Continuing, and 29 subscribers. Looks like if you don't know what you're already looking for, you're not going to get brought to my channel just by knowing my last name. You have to know to put in more than that, because YouTube is not going to make it easy to find me here, it looks like. I mean, nothing against any of this content that's being served up. I'm just wondering what's going on here. Nope, still nope. Nope. Like I said, this wouldn't be a big deal if I weren't reading things that talked about coming up with new algorithms, deploying these algorithms in the United States to cut down on traffic to certain sites by over 50%. And again, these are, all power to the people who are putting this stuff out. It's great that they're making channels, but I'm just wondering, why aren't you getting any of my content here? 215, 217, still going. Haven't gotten to my YouTube channel yet. Maybe we'll get there eventually. Nope, not yet. There's some more channels, not mine. I would like to think that, someone's not trying to make it difficult for you to find my YouTube channel. Let's see. No. Oh, hey, I think we finally, yes, 252, we finally got to my YouTube channel. That's great. We still haven't gotten to my first actual video. There was one video in there that someone else posted of my stuff. It wasn't one of my videos that I made, and it wasn't my channel. So that's how long it would take to get to find it. And I just wonder, do we have a suppression of expression over the airwaves taking place here? I think it's pretty clear. The article says that it's going on. Is that something that we should worry about? I think that's something we should be very concerned about, and I would argue that that is a violation of the First Amendment. And it is actually a very severe threat to democracy and democratic rule. That is why this was the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights, is because uninformed populace is critical to being able to cast a vote, to being able to go out and find information, not just information that doesn't contradict the official story. If all views that contradict the sanctioned views can be suppressed and silenced, then you do not live in a democracy. The voting electorate cannot find the information about things that contradict the official story, and you do not have a democracy. You're living in something else. So that's something we should all become very concerned about and actually learn more about and become vocal about, because far beyond just not being allowed to find my content, it appears that my content is certainly being made difficult to find, or more difficult to find, but not being able to find out information about critical events, such as any contradictory opinions or analysis about geoengineering and chemtrails, or genetically modified foods, or what actually happened on September 11th, 2001. That is a serious problem. You're living in a propaganda-controlled state where you're not allowed to find out information and think for yourself, and that is a very unhealthy sign for the future of democracy.